Thursday, and as you well know, it is my weekly interview day. And so I want to thank you for being here with me every Thursday at 2 p.m. ET time. And I want to wish you Happy New Year to all of you. 2024 is like a blank canvas. It's a chance to start anew, to craft, to achieve, to find success. And that is why I've invited my awesome guest to help us do just that. So this week, my guest is Peggy McColl. Peggy, how are you?
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be with you today. And I love what you said about the year being a blank canvas because that is exactly what it is.
It is, and I think those are your words, I think, Peggy. You know, Peggy, we have a few things in common, and that we're both Canadian. And I love Neville Goddard. I mean,
Oh, yes.
I just love, and I know that you do too. And of course, Bob Proctor was always a great mentor for me. And I think of you and Bob Proctor as like, always in tandem. It's always like, So, how did you? No, before we get into that, I want to, I want to just tell my audience about you because you're a New York Times best-selling author, right? And you have
Hmm.
written 23 books that are
Right?
translated into 37 languages. Oh my God, that's correct, right? Am I correct in saying that?
37 languages. That's right.
Wow. Now, I love in your Savvy Wisdom collection that you say it isn't enough to dream about your ideal life. You have to take action.
Hmm.
All right.
True.
Yeah. So I just want my audience to know that you can help write a book in a weekend
Yep.
with your
Uh,
fast track to write your book program. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's called the epitome author now, but that's exactly. In fact, this weekend, Lucy,
Mhm.
I have written in my agenda, I'm writing a book.
Oh, I
It'll be
love
my
that.
24th, but I'm definitely writing a book this weekend.
I just want everybody to know that this Peggy is the EPIC Manifestor, and we're going to talk about this. But there's more that I want to talk to you about. She's an online marketing expert. She's a speaker. She's what they call the millionaire mentor. But there's so much more about her. She's a mom to her successful daughter Vladi, and she's married to Denis Béliveau, and she's also a grandmother. I just,
Yes.
and of course, the fact that you studied and worked with Bob Proctor for over 30 years is just amazing to me.
It was over 40.
40.
Yeah.
So, wow, I'll tell you, Peggy, I know that you have said, and I've heard you say, success is not just about aspirations, it's also about holding oneself accountable. So,
Right.
we're going to talk about that too. So, So what I want to do is, it's really for me accountability. I, I would have to say it means having a good coach to guide me and maybe a partner. But I know you're going to talk to us more about that. Um, so uh, I just know that I'm declaring 2024 the Peggy McColl year.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I
All
love
right,
that.
Peggy, let's talk about you. Where are you from?
Born and raised in Toronto, live in Ottawa now, but born and raised in the Toronto, just north of Toronto, in a very small town.
Okay. So I believe that you can help us kickstart our journey to a dream year. So 30 years ago, you said now
It
40, you started
was
working
45. It
45.
was exactly, it was January 1979. So it was
Wow,
45 years ago right now.
that is amazing. Now you started using a technique to get you aligned with your desires, right? And I know
Hmm.
that you've been manifesting goal after goal, year after year. Can we go back a little bit and start there?
Sure. Yeah. I developed a technique that really took my results to a whole new level, and somewhere around the middle of the 90s, in fact. But I started studying success in January 1979, and what I did was I made a decision, which I think is a very important part of success. Just make a decision that you're going to make the positive change. Make a decision that you're going to change your life. I think about this time of year, Lucy, where a lot of people start thinking about New Year's Eves, but did you really make a New Year's resolutions, pardon me, but did you make a decision to have this year be your best year ever? And that is a very important part of it. So I made a decision in January 1979 that I would study success and understand it and apply what I was learning. But something interesting happened, and I think it's important that everybody understands this, because I know there's a lot of people who go through struggle. And what's interesting that happened is that the moment that you decide that you're going to do something different, you're going to be something different, you're going to create something you've never created before, you're going to go for that dream. As soon as you decide that, the belief system that's within you, that's already been programmed, will put up what Bob used to call a royal battle. And Neville Goddard talks about that as well. You know, the moment you make a decision that, you know, everything unlike it starts showing up in your life and you start to feel this pull. But what happens for many, many people is when that occurs, they think it's like, oh, well, they're just not meant to have it, or, you know, it's just too hard, or whatever other reason that's not going to support them. And they just buy into that idea and do nothing about it. But I recognize that the paradigms or the belief system that I had within me needed a lot of work. It's kind of like an engine that's functioning, but it's not operating on all 8 cylinders. I mean, it's just not functioning effectively or to its capacity. And it's all plugged up and gummed up with garbage and junk. And that's what I had within me. And so I found that, you know, even though I was working on creating a better understanding and expanding my awareness, and I felt like I was moving forward, I also felt a lot of backward movement too. So it's like I'm going forward, I'm going backward, I'm going forward, I'm going backward. It's like, when in the world is this ever going to change? And a lot of people get frustrated with that because they want change and they want it now. Like, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. And if they do a little bit of work and they don't get the results, they think, oh, it doesn't work. And I had a very similar experience. I started making, you know, progressive change, but I realized that when I decided to make a quantum leap, that's when everything changed. And the reason is because even though I felt fear, like I felt an enormous amount of fear, I decided to go for it anyway and just really believe in the truth that we are master manifestors, and that if we set our mind on something and we connect to it energetically, like everything has a frequency. So your goal has a frequency. If you connect with that goal, you will attract it. And I knew that I really needed to do a lot of reprogramming into my subconscious mind. And that only occurs through repetition. And not any repetition of only the thoughts and the ideas and the feelings that are going to support what it is that you want. So in the middle of the 90s, I established a technique that I call the Power Life Script, where I simply wrote out a detailed description of my amazing life as if I'm living it now, with everything that's important to me, from the, you know, the relationship that I have, from the home that I live in, from the way that I am as a mom with my son, Michelle, with everything that I desire to experience, to do, to be, my business. And I wrote it out. I was very meticulous in the words because it's very important that we pay attention. I didn't talk about it's coming, it's here now. There were no negative words whatsoever in it. And I fully embraced the emotional state of that experience too. And that's very important, you know, essential for the attraction. And I just started listening to it. And I didn't listen to it passively. I was listening to it every single day, time and time again. And I've been doing that ever since. Here we are, 2024. So it's been, well, 29 years that I've been using my Power Life Script process. And I found that there's 2 very important things to understand about utilizing a Power Life Script. One, all you have to do is take this little thing and push play. Like I have an app for my iPhone, right? The Power Life Script app. And I just go to my phone every morning and I just push play. I have my earbuds on. So I just push play, not right now, but in the morning. And I listen to it on repeat, you know, over and over again. And when you do that, especially in the morning or late at night when you're in a sleepy state, you know how Neville Goddard always talks about getting a sleepy state. Your mind is more open, more receptive. Your subconscious mind will receive that information more effectively or impactfully when you do it at those times. But I listen to it throughout the day too. If I'm getting in my car to drive somewhere, it's on. If I'm walking our dogs, it's on. If I'm sitting in the living room with Denny and he's watching hockey or football or golf or whatever else he's watching because he's a sports fanatic, I'm not necessarily interested in what's on the TV, but I want to be with him.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm listening to it as
Great
well.
idea.
Yeah. And so that is so what's great about it is that it will reprogram your subconscious mind easily. And two, all you have to do is push a button to play. And I mean, if people did nothing else except use that, they will find it'll make big differences in their life and in their results, in their manifestations.
Well, you talk about how it started in the 90s. Now I'm thinking this is really what I wanted to do. I want to do this year, you know? And so does that mean I have to wait 30 years?
Oh,
Or,
goodness. Great question.
you know,
It's funny that you should ask that because I had a client of mine ask me recently. She said, "At what point did you become a millionaire or a multimillionaire?"
mm,
And I said, "You become a millionaire in consciousness first." So
yeah.
that can happen like that. I mean, you just decide that I am and I would choose multimillionaire or billionaire or trillionaire. In fact, I started working with a client this morning who signed up for my annual mentoring program. And she told me that she sees herself as a trillionaire. And I said, good for you. Like just choose, choose whatever it is that you want. And so you become that first in consciousness. Now the awareness is really key to any type of progress or any kind of manifestation. If somebody really wants something, and I'm certain people that are watching this or listening to this can understand this too. If you really want something, like you become laser focused, right? Like you're all, what they call hell bent on seeing that particular outcome, in your life. And so what are you really doing? You're giving it attention, right? Giving it a lot of attention. It doesn't have to take a long time because the truth is, once you name it and claim it, as Bob used to say, name it and claim it as your own, it's there now. And when you think about this as well, Lucy, is somebody who wants to have more money in their life, as an example, why do they want it? Well, they want it because they want freedom. Well, why do you want freedom? Because I want to feel that I can do whatever I want whenever I want. Well, you
Mhm.
can feel that now. We're in control of how we feel, always, in
Yeah.
all ways. And so the point is that ultimately it's not the money that they want, it's what they believe it brings to their life.
Okay.
And what does it bring to their life? An emotional response.
Exactly.
So when we connect energetically, emotionally, with what it is that we desire, feeling as if it's already here now, you will attract it into your life. And the more you do that consistently
Mhm.
and have that be your dominant way of being, the better it's going to go and the faster it's going to come. So that's important. So it doesn't have to take 30 years. The reason why it took me longer is because of my awareness. But the great thing is, I've studied this for 45 years. So you don't have to take 45. I can help you because I know now I can look back and see what I did exactly that changed my life in every way. So
So you can pinpoint a time in your life when you kind of like, oh, it happened. I did it. I've got it.
mhm.
Because
I,
I'm always thinking about Neville Goddard, who says the secret is in the feeling. So I know how
yeah,
important that is. So you can pinpoint at that certain time when there was like that. I call it
the
the
switch.
miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that it occurs for different people at different times.
Right.
It also, you'll have it happen multiple times throughout your life as well,
Right.
depending on what the goals are. Because we're a multifaceted being. Like I think about even attracting Denny into my life. Before I met him, I had a realization that even though I had done well in my business and career and always been a good money earner, and even though I had had those experiences, where I had a struggle was in the relationship department.
Mhm.
And I had this realization when I went through my divorce from Shao is that, huh, there's really a deep rooted belief within me that I wasn't worthy of love. And that came from childhood.
Right.
And, we don't judge it. We just have the awareness and the understanding of, isn't that interesting that it's there? And I think that's important for people to do. If you find anyone that's watching this discovers that there's something within them, like money, as an example. Like I remember one time I had bought a little sports car and I went and picked my mom up for lunch, and it was a surprise. It was a little convertible Mercedes, and I also had a Mercedes SUV. And so
Mhm.
she comes out of her house. I pick her up for lunch, and she stops in her tracks and she points to the car and she goes, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, that's my new car." Like I'm excited. I want to go surprise her, take her out for lunch, have a nice lunch with my mom. And she says, "Well, when did you get that?" And I said, "Well, I just picked it up yesterday." And she said, "Well, what happened to your other car?" And I said, "Well, it's at home." And she goes, "Well, you mean you have two?"
I know,
Like, right? Like there's something wrong with it.
what do you
You
need
mean
2
you
cars
have
for?
two? What if I had 20?
You're
What does
right.
it matter? Right?
It's that money concept, it's that
It's the consciousness, but where it really comes from or came from for her, she passed away, but where it came from, and she was raised in a big Italian Catholic family, and I
Mhm.
think they struggled, right? Not think, I know they struggled. So her thinking was that if you have an abundance, you're taking away from someone else, and that's simply
Yeah,
not true.
not true.
But there are a lot of people who believe that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who think that having more is not like an authentic thing to do or something of integrity. And if that is a belief, like I was chatting with another client a few months ago, and she was telling me that she had some money blocks. And a lot of people have money blocks. It's evident in the world, right? Just look at the way people are
Obviously.
living. And so I said to her, I said, "So, what are your beliefs around money or having a lot of money?" And she said, "Shame."
Oh,
And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said that her father had taught her that it's shameful to be wealthy.
oh,
And because he used to, speak of people that were wealthy and that they were shameful. And it's like they can validate it. It's like when people get a hold of a belief and they will, they'll fight for that belief
mhm.
because their mind, they've collected data that proves that is true. And so if that's their belief, sure, they can validate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, what if that wasn't true? And what if there's an abundance in the world, there's plenty to go around, there's more than enough, and if we took all the money in the world and we divided evenly, there'd be plenty for everyone. Nobody would be starving
Absolutely.
or struggling, and right?
No, absolutely. It's what we're brought up with. I mean, I now believe that God wants us to be abundant. He wants us to be happy. He
Definitely.
wants us to be joyful. But growing up Catholic, that's not the message that I got.
Oh yeah. You know what I saw earlier today, and I was going to make a comment. It was somewhere online, and somebody said something like, um, "God's plan." Well, maybe it's God's plan, and this is what I believe. Like God's plan is your plan. What do you want? This is what God says. What do you want? Whatever you want, I'm there to support you. I'm there
What
to
would you
help you.
love?
And
Yes, exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you love? What would you love? What would you love? Now, I really believe there's a lot of different paths we can take. Sure,
Mhm.
we can call that God's plan and that God's plan and that God's plan. They're all there. We've been gifted with this incredible thing called choice,
Exactly.
right? We get to choose. Look at you. You're living in Mexico. You could be living in Canada. You could be living in Spain. You could be living anywhere you want. You chose
Absolutely.
to be there.
Exactly. Exactly. No, absolutely. No, I used to think that way. I don't think that way anymore, but personal development helps a lot. People, Mary Morrissey was always my go-to person. And then at one point, and I knew how close she was to Bob Proctor, but at one point I thought, I have these limited beliefs. I have got to go to the paradigm shift event.
Yes.
And that's where I met you actually. I think it was in 2019. Yes.
Yes.
It wasn't the very last event that he did because I think I heard you say that he had done one in January 2020. This
Yes,
was
he
in,
did.
I think, October 2019. And I'm
Okay.
I'm thinking, oh, I've got to spend a whole year working on these limiting beliefs because I realized that I couldn't move forward, you know?
Yeah. Well, you got to work on it your life. It's not a whole year. It's forever and ever and ever.
That was
Amen.
just the start. Yeah.
Yeah, well, think about it, Lucy. We live in a world. First of all, how our belief system gets built is through our
Mhm.
senses, right? We take in information through our sight, through our hearing, through smell, through touch, through taste, through what we're reading. We're taking in all this information. This is building our belief system that's within us. Our subconscious mind is being built. So even though we may be working on certain aspects of ourselves, there's still, it's already there, right? Like every part of us, everything we've taken in from the moment you were born is still a part of who you are. And we don't remove it. We don't erase it. It's always going to be there. It's just, we're going to quiet that voice, and we're going to bring more volume to the voice that's going to serve us and support us. And so this is constant work, but it doesn't have to be difficult work. And that's why the Power Life script's so easy. Just push play once you record it, and then bam, just reprogram.
Yeah.
It's like when Danny and I started dating, which was about 20 years ago, and it was 19 years ago, in fact. And we were dating, we just started to date. And he said to me, so what happens when you're not earning money? Because I'm an entrepreneur, right? I run my own business. I incorporated my company in 1994. He said, what happens when you're not earning money? Now, he was a pilot with the military and had been with the military for many, many years. And I said, I don't even understand your question. I mean, that didn't even compute in my mind. Like, I'm always earning money. I was 8 and I was working in my father's store. He ran a convenience, like a dépanneur. He ran a little convenience store, and I was working with him. And then when I was 12, I worked in my mother's, where she was working in the factory all summer. And then I got a grocery store job when I was 14. Like, I've always earned money.
Oh, you've always been an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Danny said, what happens when you, I said, I'm a money earning machine. That's what I said. And Shal, my ex-husband, used to call me that. He goes, oh, you're a money earning machine. And I like that identity, money earning machine. And I think anyone can own that. Anyone can own that. And that, again, choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. So when Danny said, what happens when you're not earning money? I said, I'm always earning money. I'm a money earning machine. I'll always earn money. It's who I am. Like, how did that get in there?
Yeah.
Right? How did that get in there? It gets in there through impressions, like constant impressions. And that's why it's work that we must do forever. Like, I would never think about not studying. I mean, you come into my home, Lucy, and you'll see books everywhere. And at night, I'm studying. In the morning, I'm studying. I get in my car, I'm listening to audios. If I'm doing a long trip, then there's a whole bunch of books that's on Audible already lined up to, like, I made a decision. I'm going to read a book a week this year.
Wow.
And I'm already almost finished my second one. I could end up reading 2 books a week. I don't know. Maybe I should up the goal, but
You always do anyway, every year.
it's just a matter of, impressing, but it's fun. Like, it's not work. It's not hard. It's not like you're going to learn something that, like,
I've heard it over and over, and I think I heard it from Bob Proctor too. Leaders are readers, or readers are leaders, and I do believe that's really true. I mean, and I think our generation, and I think I'm older than you are, but the generation, we are lifelong learners. I mean,
right.
and I don't know where that came from. It sounds like I was good in school and I read in
I
school.
wasn't.
But I love to learn now. But look how much I'm learning, even technique wise. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, when I started my online business, all I knew how to do was copy and paste. And look at me now. Oh my God. So it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And this whole idea that you talk about, repetition, that is why your Power Life script to me is the way to go. Because
Totally.
I've heard it from Tony Robbins over and over again. He used to say repetition is the mother of
skill.
But now he says repetition is the mother and father of skill. I've heard him say this year. And so, and I know that that's true. And so, why have I waited so long? I don't know, but I know
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm ready.
Yeah, you're here now.
Yeah,
like, I think about the question, why have I waited so long? Like, I'll ask myself questions that lead to feel good feelings.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if something happens, like, I wouldn't ask why did that happen or whatever. I would look at it from, what can I learn from it? Where's the gift? Where's the value in this?
Right.
And that's just also becomes a habitual way of being. And I think it's important. Like, if you look at any successful person, they all have habitual ways of being. And their habitual way of being is being successful in consciousness. Like, we must be successful in our consciousness before we'll ever experience it. It's not outside of us. No. It's not when we get the money, then we will be, or when I get the degree, then I'm going to have. No. You're there now. You must be there now. And then some people will say, well, I don't have it now. Well, you get it now by consciousness, right? And a big part of why somebody would say, I don't get it now is, again, an old belief, an old belief. They get in their way. I mean, most people are walking around with their hoses cramped or clinched, where they're not allowing the flow
Flow.
because they're just stuck in this, oh, it never works out for me. It's always blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh my
it's the
goodness.
whole idea. It's the whole idea that we're the creator of our destiny. We're not the manifestors of our circumstances. And so many people are caught in this circumstance, and then, oh well, I can't get out. I don't have enough money, or I don't deserve it, or I'm not.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's
Yeah, as long as you believe it, you'll just stay stuck. It's like people that created a story about why their life is the way it is.
right.
And they will, they'll talk about it. There's like a lady who just this week actually wanted to join our annual All Access Pass offering, and she sent an email in, and she was explaining why she couldn't do it right now, but she really wanted it. And I said to Vladdy, I said, she's holding on to her story. So
Yeah.
you got to rid of the story, write a new story. Like, that story is not going to support her. It's absolutely not going to support. Oh yeah, maybe what's going on in her life right now, but as long as you just continue
Right.
to see yourself in lack, you're going to continue to experience lack.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now you mentioned Vladdy. So is Vladdy your daughter? Right, she's
No,
working with you
no,
now? Oh no,
she
this.
works with me. No, no, she's not my daughter. I have one son. His name is
Okay.
Michel.
Okay.
And yeah, and Vladdy I met a few years ago, and she had sent an email into our office, and normally my support team would take care of it, but I saw it and it caught my eye. So I ended up reaching out to her, and she joined my team, and she's been working with me. I just love her. She calls me her success mommy.
Oh, okay,
And
that's where I
so
got that
I
from.
call her my success daughter,
Daughter.
but
Okay.
she's not my biological child.
Right.
She's not my adopted child. I am old enough to be her mother, but she's not my daughter.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. And oh, wow. I mean, it is so exciting. Now, I want to go back to I know how you are. I know that people talk about you and they refer to you as a bulldog, a dog with
Yeah.
a with you're like a dog with a bone. I mean, I can see where you got that
Well,
reputation.
I'll show you where that came from.
That is
Here, this is one of my books.
oh,
Be it,
it,
be, be a dog with a bone. That was
oh wow.
the third book that I released in the world. So I'm not surprised that you're saying that, but I'm absolutely a dog with a bone. Ask my husband. I think it probably drives him nuts sometimes, but if I get my mindset on something, look out, the walls are coming down. Like, it's just gonna
Wow.
happen.
Wow. So let's talk about how we can make this year the best year of our life. I know that you have something going on that it just actually started, I think, the 1st of January, Pair Up
Yes.
to Rise Up.
Pair
Go
up to rise up. Yeah,
yeah.
anybody can go there right now. It's totally free. And
Okay.
it is a webinar that also comes along with a workbook.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that I recorded that over the holidays because I know a lot of people get focused around goals at this time of year, but I really want to help people get on the right track, because
Right.
a lot of people, and we hear it, we see the posts, let's make this year the best year, blah blah
Mm,
blah, and it's like
it's
people aren't
on and
doing
on.
anything about it. Like, they're not doing anything about it. And the only way that's going to happen is you've got to expand your understanding, and that's done through study. You've got to
Mm,
become more aware, but of course that's not going to do anything for you unless you apply. And the other area is, and I see a lot of people out there in the world who are claiming to be success coaches, but what have they actually done? Like, I think the evidence is in the results. Bob used to say, by their fruits you will know them.
right.
Right? By their fruits you will know them, which simply means that there are people that have, gone through challenges, that have overcome their challenges, that have created success. They know how to do it, and they can guide you, they can help you. And that's what I do. I completely turned my life around from being a suicidal, young, miserable, broke, in debt, a young lady, to creating this incredible life, where I have a wonderful business, an incredible, I'm perfectly healthy now. I even went through some health challenges, and everything is quite extraordinary. But that didn't happen by chance. There was a lot of work involved, a lot of work. There was some blood, some sweat, some tears.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure. When did you
Maybe no
come in
blood.
contact when did you come in contact with Bob, in your life? Because you talk about, as a young girl, you were suicidal, you
Yeah.
know, you didn't feel worthy, you didn't I mean, you had nothing to live for. I mean, I at some
Yeah.
point, it all changed.
Well,
Is it
that really is, that's why I wrote Savvy Wisdom. So
kind of
Savvy Wisdom is really a big part of my story because
okay.
I'm Sophie, I'm the main character. Bob is Savvy, S-A-V-Y is a name.
Ah,
And I recommend everybody read the whole series. There's three, and they're
absolutely.
written as a story, as a parable. And so I met him when I was 19, 20 years of
Mhm.
age. And I was sort of dragged to a seminar that I didn't want to go to. because, and I'm so glad I did go, obviously. And I met him, and he had offered some training, and the company that I was working for offered to pay half and we pay half. And I signed up. I didn't have the money to do it, but I signed up and my credit card went over the limit. And that, no big deal. I was like, it was the best thing I ever did. And then he did a series of seminars at a hotel in Toronto. And then I signed up for them again and again and again and again and again. I got to a point, I said to Bob, if you're ever not feeling well, let me know, I can go on for you. But,
Well, I
Bob,
know he considered you one of his best students, didn't he?
yes, I definitely was one of his best students, no
Because
question
you
there.
implemented everything he said.
That's the secret right there,
Right,
Lucy, right there. And that's why there are a lot of people. I saw a lot of people going to Bob's seminars, but they weren't implementing.
exactly.
And see, I used to sit in the room going, okay, understand. I have faith. How? And
Mhm.
Bob used to say this: if you're asking how, it's demonstrating your ignorance. It's like, I don't care. I'm ignorant. Tell me how. And so, like, I was not concerned with, the response. I would ask the questions because I really wanted the change. I was hungry for the
Mhm.
change. So I did implement, and I implement at lightning speed. I make a decision. It's like, boom, like I mentioned, write a book in a weekend. A lot of people think it's going to
Like
take
your
a
second car.
long time. Yeah, exactly. It does not
Yeah,
have to take a long time unless you think
no.
it's going to take a
And
long
and
time.
and Think and Grow Rich talks about, successful people making, quick decisions, and that's true. I've
Right.
seen that a lot of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like my husband's not like that. He's analytical. He's very left brain analytical. He was a pilot in the military, like very, very different, which I totally respect.
Right.
But I don't allow him to hold me back. Like people ask me all the time, what do you do if you're living with somebody who's not into the materials? What do you mean? What do you do? What does it matter? Like the only corner of the universe is what Aldous Huxley said. The only corner of the universe you have any control over is yourself.
Yourself. Yeah.
So, what Denny does is what Denny does. But he knows that if I get my mindset on something, he better be on board
You're
or
like
he's.
you're like that dog with a bone.
That's right. Like at the time we were in Florida, we took my mom down for a trip. It was her bucket list trip, and went for a walk one day, and there was a house for sale. And I stopped, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, the house is for sale." And he goes, "So?" And I said, "Wouldn't it be nice to have a house in Florida?" "Well, we're not looking for a house in Florida." "Well, let's look for a house in Florida. Let's make that decision." And I bought it that day.
I love it. I love it. I just love it. I mean, but that's it. There's something in you also that's very strong. I mean, you have a strong intuition as far as I can
Oh,
see.
I do. I really do. You're right,
And
Lucy.
yeah. And so,
Very strong. Anyone can
yeah.
have that though. You
Oh,
develop it,
I have that. That's how come I recognize it in you.
right?
But for me, it's the implementation and that's what I'm going to do this year.
Right. Well, you got to listen to that intuition because
Yeah.
your intuition is your guide. To me,
Yep.
intuition is the universe response. Like
Yep.
it's speaking to you, and it will. Like even when you're looking for an answer to something, just, talk to the universe and say, "Okay, thank you for giving me this answer." Go to sleep expecting you'll get the answer, and then
Right.
bam, you'll have it in the morning, on a decision that you're
Right.
looking for or guidance on something. But the important part is relaxing in the knowing. I always say this to my team, like my I think my famous words are relax in the knowing, relax in the knowing, relax in the knowing that it's already
Right.
done. Think about goals that you set for yourself. If you set a goal like 2024 to be your best year ever, relax in the knowing that it's already done. It doesn't mean you have to work
Don't get
harder.
attached to, yeah, don't get attached to uh, the
No,
outcomes.
how. You don't have to know how. That's
No,
the greatest lesson I ever learned in all of the 45 years that I've been studying. You do not have to know how. Just
the
decide.
tyranny of how is what Tony calls it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You decide what you would love
yeah.
and then claim it in your heart as if it's already here right now and consistently have your dominant feeling be that this is done. This is you. This is your life. It's already in your life. And provided you do that, you'll attract it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But you do have to believe that. What
You
about
build
the
the belief, you build it. Like even if you have a little bit, like that expression, even if you have a mustard seed of faith, like
yeah,
the faith of a mustard seed, even if you have a little bit, you can build it. You can build it. Like I look at faith as a muscle that we got to work on. Like if you want to get your physical body in perfect shape and you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you got to go to the gym, but you don't go to the gym once and go,
yeah,
man, look at this hot body
yeah.
that I have. You got
No
to
way.
go back again and again and again and again, and you never stop. You never
Yeah.
stop. That's what our mind is. It's a muscle, right? And our emotions are muscles, and we got to build them and build them and build them. So how do you build it? How do you build? This is me, the Peggy, the how. How do you build the muscle of faith? By seeing, believing, and knowing that it's already done. You got to practice it. It's a game. We're all playing a game here, is what we're doing. And so you use your imagination. You effectively use your imagination. And using your imagination means that you go to that place. I love Bob used to say, there is a place. You go to that place in your mind and you're already there. And as you're doing that, you're building the muscle, you're building the muscle, you're building the muscle. Every time you're listening to your Power Life script, you're building the muscle, you're building the muscle. Every time you're doing affirmations, but really embracing the feeling, you're building the muscle, you're building the muscle. Right now, people that are watching this are building their muscles, building their muscles. You just
Right.
do those things like
Yeah.
consistently, and you'll get strong, very strong.
Yeah. Think about the life as a good formula. You always said, that's it. I mean, is that the greatest lesson that you learned from Bob? I mean, that the imagine, Neville says the imagination is the God in you, and I love that. I love that. I remember first time I heard it, I went, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so because it's all within us. We do know it. And unfortunately, we go to school, but we have an imagination. I'm watching this 3-year-old grand niece of mine who has such a fabulous imagination, and she creates a world around her. It's unbelievable. But and everybody who loves her just lets her be. Something happens to us when we go to school, and I know because I've heard it. I've done it myself. I was a school teacher. Behave. Stop daydreaming. Listen.
Right.
It's
Start
just knocked
daydreaming.
it's knocked out of us. It's
Yeah, yeah, it is. But my greatest lesson, I mean, to answer your question, was that you don't have to know how. You don't have to know how. Just decide what you want. You'll figure it out, and
yeah.
just get on board with that emotional experience of knowing it's done, and you'll attract everything you need.
Wow. That is so yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree with you. So we're going to make this year the best year. 2024 is going to be the Peggy McColl year. Absolutely. And
I
so
love it.
how can my audience, what's the best way for them to contact you? I know you have a website. I know,
Yeah,
we have the information on Pair Up to Rise Up. I think Bruce put it up there.
yeah. Thanks, Bruce.
So also, but and we didn't talk about this. I know that you've helped a lot of people write books. You can help
Yes.
them write a book over the weekend. Oh, I wanted to ask you one question. What about and this question is a question has been asked of me several times. Why don't you write a book? And I'm going, I don't want to write a book. I mean, is there something I don't want to write a book? Why do I feel like
Okay.
that? And I yeah, and so many other people feel there's a book inside of me. I mean, can you speak to that a little bit?
There's a book inside everyone. There's multiple books inside. In fact, once you write your first one, it's like an addiction. You probably will write another one and
Uh,
another one and another one. You know, it's interesting when you said that question that people ask you, why don't you write a book? Like, I'm very cautious with questions and I'm very triggered by what people say as well. Asking a question, why don't you do anything, will give you reasons why you won't and don't. Right.
exactly.
So, you
That's
know,
exactly what I wanted to do. Tell them why I didn't want to.
exactly. So not a good question that the person asked you, but that's okay. I think I think it's the greatest decision I've ever made in my career to write a book, to be honest. It's the best thing I ever did in my business. Absolutely, bar none. For many, many reasons. One, it was just starting with the growth that you experience personally. It is an incredible sense of accomplishment. Plus, when you're gathering information to put it together into that kind of a format, into a book, is an incredible growth experience. So I loved that. And by the time I finished writing my first, I was like, I don't even care if nobody buys this book. I'm just so grateful to have gone through the experience. So it's really a great personal accomplishment for sure. Another thing is, as soon as you write a book, people assume you are credible, that you're a person of authority, that you must know what you're talking about. It elevates a brand. That's definitely what it will do. It'll do that. Another thing is it will create a source and very likely multiple sources of income. For example, this book here, you know, it's a hardcover, it's also in soft cover, it's also in Audible,
Not a
it's
book.
also in trade paperback. It
Yeah.
is a program. It's in Kindle. It's a PDF. Like, there's multiple formats from one of my 23 books where I get revenue. And we had mentioned earlier at the beginning of this interview that I have books in 37 languages. I receive compensation for all of those as well. Like, I probably just from my books
I think I
alone
better write a book.
have hundreds of sources of income that have no limit. There's
Yeah.
no cap. If it's out there in the world, you never know where it's going to take off. And all of a sudden, people are buying cases of it to give to their friends.
Yeah.
So, like, I think everybody should write a book. Absolutely, for sure. I have the Epitome Author Program. So there's three ways that I work with authors. One is through the Epitome Author Program, which is my signature program. Two is through private mentoring. I work with people to help them privately. Or three, which I just updated the webpage for last night, through something called the Author Cabin. And I actually just signed papers on a waterfront cottage that I'll take possession of April 1st. And there's nothing like being by the water and spending a few days to
Right.
write your book. And so the Author Cabin, we're going to open for registration soon. I don't even know if the page
What
is
a great
ready.
idea.
It's the authorcabin.com. I don't know whether it's ready to take registration or not. I know Roddy was working on it earlier today. But that's obviously, there's not a lot of spots for that because that's me, my time. They're coming to my place. They're checking in to my place, and we're going to be together for like 3 days. And they're going to work on their book. They may or may not get it written in that time, but they'll definitely have a heck of a lot done by being captivated in that environment for that period of time. So those are three ways that I work with authors.
Wonderful idea. So I should imagine that the best way that anybody in my audience to reach out to you, and maybe Bruce, you can post this in with the CTA there, that if they go to your website, they get all this
Yes.
information, right? Your
Yes,
website.
yes, yeah. Oh, Bruce
Yeah.
just put The Authors Earning Millions too. That's a book that I created last year as well. It's a free book that's a giveaway for sure. But PeggyMcColl.com pretty well has almost everything that I have available for people. And we got lots of freebies on there too. Lots of free stuff. And we do free events, like we did the Pair Up to Rise Up event. I'm going to be doing another one later this month. So we do lots of great stuff for people.
Right. Aren't you? Tell me something. In January, I know that when I went to your Pair Up to Rise Up, I could get the video immediately. But you have something happening tomorrow, January
Yeah,
5th.
tomorrow at noon. It's Q&A. So
it's
what
Q&A.
happens is like there was there's a couple of people that have submitted questions, questions, different things. So I said to Roddy, let's do an encore, or not an encore event, but let's do a bonus event where I'll address any questions. And I'm going to talk about what the, challenges are with people that are setting their goals and attempting to achieve them. And so
Mhm.
there'll definitely be information given, but also I'm going to take any questions.
Okay, great. I know I've taken a lot of your time. I mean, we could talk all day long. I mean, there's it's just so much about you that we could talk about. But I did want to talk about the great way that you manifest, because you are the epic manifestor. I think I made up that word. Some people call you the
I
manifesting
like
queen,
it.
and and a lot of names like that. So yeah. So Bruce, if you would just put up the website for Peggy for where
He
people.
did.
Oh, he did. I don't know why I can't see it, but I guess you can see it. That's good. Okay. So I just want to thank you, Peggy, for giving me this time. It's such an honor and a privilege, really, to be here with you. And I mean it. 2024 is Peggy McColl year.
I love it, Lucy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It's been a lot of fun. The time just flew right by. And, I just love serving people. I really, really do. I don't want anyone to have to struggle. I don't want anyone to go through the pain, that I went through. Emotional pain is not something that we always see,
No.
with people. We can see it in the results, but
Mhm.
it is not fun to struggle. It's not fun to be overwhelmed. It's not fun to be all consumed in debt. And so
Right.
I know what those experiences are like, and I think that actually has helped me serve other people as well, because I have the compassion and the
Mhm.
understanding of what it is like. So I'm grateful. When you asked me to do this, I was like very happy to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. And I certainly want to thank you, my audience, for being here and for following me every week for the weekly interviews. I'm here to serve also. Peggy said it best, I mean, service to others is what life is all about. It's,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. So thank you, Peggy, once more. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.